warm welcome to another from this occasional series looking at repertoire for organ. Today we'll be looking at a recently published collection of miniatures written for manuals only, composed by Tim Knight and published by his own publishing company Tim Knight Music, which is based in Leeds. The volume consists of 18 pieces from 3 previous sets of miniatures collected together, and it's available as a printed copy or as a PDF download. And although all are written for manuals only, the composer states that pedals could be added at the performer's discretion. In these recordings, I've used the pedals only very occasionally and only for the tonic note, such that a performer could prepare their foot over the relevant note and simply play that note when required. The 18 pieces in the collection come in a variety of different styles and suit many of the different liturgical moods which organists are required to provide before, during and after Mass and other services. Pieces written for manuals only can sometimes be rather lacking in musical interest, and some composers assume that those wanting music for manuals want very easy music, which, of course, is sometimes the case. However, there are some very talented pianists who are called upon to play the organ, or skilled organists playing instruments without pedals, and it is for this target audience at which these pieces seem to be aimed. The publisher's website describes them as being easy to intermediate. And notwithstanding the lack of pedal parts, I'd say that the pieces probably range between grade 4 to grade 6 kind of standard, but all of them are musically interesting and very well written. Well, in this video I'm going to play extracts from some of the pieces in each of the 3 sets to give an idea about just some of a wide range of styles, moods and dynamic ranges contained within the collection. I've recorded all of them, as you've already seen, on the Cathedral organ, deliberately chosen as having no playing aids such as pistons, a relatively small number of stops, and no swell box. Well, we started with the end of the very first piece in the collection, appropriately called Prelude. Written in G major, it is a lovely lyrical piece which would sit very well before an act of worship, or even, in spite of the title, as a postlude. I move on now to one of the gentler pieces in the collection, titled Folk Tune, with the composer's direction at the start being that the piece should be played thoughtfully. Well, I hope I've done that in this brief extract from this beautiful piece. By way of contrast, the next piece in set 1 is a scherzo, with the instruction that it should be played playfully on sparkling flutes. I have strayed a little from that instruction, as my interpretation of sparkling has meant using a 2-foot principal stop atop the 8 and 4-foot flutes. The trumpet tune is a staple of organ repertoire, whether that be the familiar Trumpet Voluntary by Jeremiah Clarke, or a succession of trumpet or tuba tunes written by composers from all subsequent generations. There are 2 such pieces in this collection, the first being our next piece, a little trumpet tune, still from set 1 of the collection. It is a jaunty, merry little piece which makes good use of a fine trumpet stop on the Cathedral organ. That said, on a 1 manual organ, it could easily be played without the need of a solo stop, with both left and right hands being playable on 1 manual. set 2 now, which opens with a processional, which could well accompany a procession before, during, or at the end of a church service, and is marked stately. Listening back to my recording, I would probably play it more slowly were I to record it again, but hope that you can pick up some feeling for the musical character nonetheless. There are 1 or 2 moments when it would be useful to use one or more of the pedals, unless a very wide hand stretch or switching some notes from left to right hand are options. Many composers have composed in the style of Baroque dance suite movements, and set 2 contains a beautiful Sarabande, which again uses some of the quieter stops on the organ. Fittingly, set 2, which opened with a processional, ends with a recessional, which would be well used at the end of the service, after the dismissal or final hymn, for example. I've chosen to use the tonic pedal a number of times in this piece, which adds to the style and also makes it slightly easier to play, albeit it's entirely possible to play it without use of the pedals, as with all the pieces in this collection. Four pieces from the final set, set 3 now, starting with A Little Irish Tune. This is a lilting lyrical piece which would work very well before the start of the service. Next piece is entitled In Memoriam, and so is likely designed for use before or after a funeral, but would work well at other times as well. As might be expected, it is a beautiful reflective piece, but it is one which requires 2 manuals in order to solo out the main melodic line when required. We heard a trumpet tune earlier from set 1, and set 3 contains a fancy for trumpet. As we've already heard the trumpet on the cathedral organ, I followed the alternative suggestion from a composer of using mutation stops. That's the stops such as 2 2/3, 1 3/5, the ones that aren't in the harmonic sequence of 8, 4, 2. And I've used the cornet stop on the cathedral organ instead of using the trumpet. Well, I hope that you have found this brief guide through this selection of pieces in the new volume to be interesting. As ever, please do not hesitate to contact me with any queries or even for suggestions of other aspects of repertoire or technique which might form the basis for future videos. The final piece in this collection is called, appropriately, Onward Journey, which will be played here complete as we conclude and move on our own onward journeys. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.